Choosing the right executor for your estate could lead to family conflicts, delays, and even financial loss. But how do you make the right choice? Well, stay with me because this decision is more important than you think. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in an executor, the red flags to avoid, and the step-by-step process to ensure your estate is in good hands. I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC and one half of the estate planning guys. Over the last 28 years, I've helped hundreds of families make smart estate planning decisions, and today I'm going to help you do the same. So what does an executor actually do? Before we get into choosing the right person, let's talk about what an executor actually does. Many people think it's just about distributing assets, but there's much more to it. So they're going to have to do things like file legal paperwork with the court, pay any outstanding debts and taxes that may be due, and then manage and distribute the assets. And then, oh yeah, one more thing, handle any disputes between the beneficiaries. And that can be a big responsibility. So that's why picking the right person is so important. If you're already thinking of someone for the role, then drop a yes in the comments below. If not, type need help and I'll guide you in the replies. Now, so we know now what an executor does. Let's talk about the qualities that make for a great fit. The first one is trustworthiness. Your executor will have access to your estate's finances. So if there's any doubts about their integrity, please don't make that person your executor. They're not the right choice. The second thing is financial responsibility. They don't have to be an expert, but they should be good with managing money and paperwork. The third thing is organization and attention to detail. And this is probably the most important thing. Well, the next one is probably the most important thing, but organization and attention to detail is extremely important. There are deadlines, there are legal forms that have to be filled out, and there are financial documents to read and understand. So your executor is going to have to stay on top of all of that. So being organized and having close attention to detail are very important for an executor. And then the fourth thing, I think this is the most important one, is communication skills. They'll be dealing with your beneficiaries, attorneys, and courts. So someone who is diplomatic and patient is a great fit for this role. You probably haven't heard this anywhere else, but your executor doesn't have to be a family member. In fact, sometimes choosing a professional is the best decision. So let's talk about that next. So who should you choose? Family, friend, or professional? So many clients that I've worked with just sort of default to picking their oldest child or their closest family member, but that might not always be the best choice. So a family member can be a good option if they are organized, trustworthy, and able to handle the responsibility. And, frankly, willing to take on the job, because it is a job. This is not a blessing, it's a curse. So be careful if there's any potential for family conflict, because you don't want somebody in charge that's going to end up causing a big dispute with your family. After all, that's what we're trying to avoid, is some sort of dispute over what you've left behind. So sometimes a great alternative could be a close friend. If they're financially responsible and they're very neutral in family matters, that could be a good choice. But again, you want to make sure this is somebody that's willing to take on the responsibility. The next choice is a professional executor. So if your estate is complex, or you just want to make sure to avoid any family tension, then hiring a professional like a trust company or an attorney might be the right move. Now, the thing to bear in mind about that is it does cost money. So anytime you hire a professional executor, they're going to have fees that they charge for doing that work, and it is work. So it is worth paying the fees, but just keep that in mind if you think that you want to save money on the executor and you have someone else who's a good choice, then you might want to skip the professional. If you want to learn more about estate planning and make informed decisions, check out the resources page on our website. The link is in the description below. Now, let's talk about some red flags to avoid. Even a well-intentioned person might not be the best fit for this job. So here's who not to choose. Someone with a history of poor financial decisions. If they can't manage their own money, then they shouldn't be managing yours. Someone who's too busy. If they're already overwhelmed with work or personal obligations, adding executor duties could be just too much to handle. It is a job. As I said before, it's a burden, not a curse. Someone who creates family drama. If they've been the center of family conflicts before, choosing them to lead could cause major estate disputes, so you don't want to do that. Now, this is what I've said a couple of times, and I don't think that people really understand, but being an executor is not an honor. It's a job. Treat it that way when making your decisions. So let's recap what we've covered in this video. We talked about what an executor actually does, the key qualities to look for in an executor, whether to choose a family member, a professional, or a friend, and then some red flags that you want to avoid. If you found this helpful, check out my next video on the biggest estate planning mistakes to avoid right here. See you there.